You think of a beach in Bali. Not book a flight, not pack a bag, just think of it. And a fraction of a second later, you're standing in the warm sand, waves rolling in front of you. No airport, no jet lag, no travel time at all. From this moment forward, you can teleport anywhere on Earth, instantly, just by picturing the destination clearly in your mind. What would that actually mean for your life? At first, it sounds like the ultimate convenience. No more traffic, no more layovers, no more wasted hours in transit. Distance simply stops being a barrier. But instant teleportation isn't just a faster way to travel. It removes something most people don't even realize shapes their entire relationship with the world, the friction of distance itself. And that friction turns out to be doing a lot more work than we usually give it credit for. To understand why this matters, you need to understand what travel time actually does for your brain beyond just moving your body. Psychologists who study the experience of travel have found that the journey itself, even the boring parts, plays a meaningful role in helping people mentally transition between contexts, work mode to vacation mode, home to a new environment, one identity to another. This is sometimes called psychological transition time. And it turns out your brain uses that in-between time to process, decompress, and adjust expectations. Remove the travel entirely, and you remove that built-in mental buffer along with it. Now imagine what your first fully teleported day would actually feel like. You think about that beach in Bali, and instantly you're standing in the sand, wearing your regular clothes, mind still in whatever mental state it was in 5 seconds earlier. Sitting on your couch scrolling through your phone. There's no gradual shift from ordinary life to vacation mode. No window seat, no descending plane, no taxi ride giving your brain time to catch up with where your body now is. You're just suddenly there, and your mind hasn't caught up yet. Here's where the science gets genuinely interesting. Researchers who study jet lag and travel adjustment have found that a significant part of feeling settled in a new location isn't just about your body clock adjusting to a new time zone. It's about your brain building a new mental map of your surroundings. Right now, the journey itself, watching landscapes change through a window, walking through an unfamiliar airport, gives your brain a chance to gradually update that mental map before you arrive. Teleportation would strip all of that away. You'd arrive with a body in a completely new place and a brain still running the mental map of wherever you just left. Now scale this up to something even stranger, your body's relationship with time zones. If you can teleport instantly, you could have breakfast in Tokyo, lunch in Paris, and dinner in New York, all in the same day, without ever really traveling in the way your body understands travel. Chronobiologists who study circadian rhythms have found that your internal body clock relies heavily on environmental cues like sunlight and mealtime patterns to know what time it actually is. Jumping between wildly different time zones instantly, over and over, without the gradual adjustment period normal travel provides, could send your circadian rhythm into a kind of permanent chaotic confusion, potentially far worse than ordinary jet lag, because your body would never get consistent enough cues to properly reset. This is where the twist comes in. You might expect instant travel to make you feel more connected to the world, more spontaneous, more free. But researchers who study travel psychology have found that some of the most meaningful travel experiences come specifically from the unplanned moments during a journey. A conversation with a stranger on a train, an unexpected detour, a long layover that becomes an unexpected adventure. Remove the actual journey entirely, and you remove the raw material that so many meaningful, unplanned experiences are built from. You wouldn't just be traveling faster, you'd be skipping the part of travel that often ends up mattering the most. Think about what this means for relationships specifically. Right now, physical distance requires deliberate effort. Buying a ticket, clearing your schedule, actually showing up. That effort itself often communicates something meaningful, that someone was worth the trouble of an actual journey. If visiting anyone, anywhere, cost you nothing but a single thought, would visits still carry the same emotional weight? Relationship researchers who study gestures of commitment have found that effortful actions tend to be perceived as more meaningful than effortless ones, even when the outcome is identical. Teleportation might make you more available to everyone, while simultaneously making your presence feel less significant to any one person in particular. Now widen the lens to something bigger. What if this ability applied not just to you, but to everyone on Earth, all at once? Global infrastructure would face a crisis unlike anything in human history. Entire industries exist because of the friction of distance: airlines, hotels, shipping, tourism boards, international logistics. Economists who study transportation systems note that an enormous portion of the global economy is built specifically around the cost and time required to move people and goods across distances. Remove that friction entirely, and industries built around managing distance wouldn't just shrink. Many of them would have no reason to exist at all, potentially displacing millions of jobs almost overnight. Cities themselves would transform in strange, unpredictable ways. Right now, geography shapes where people choose to live largely based on proximity to jobs, to family, to affordable housing. Urban planners who study migration patterns have found that access and convenience are among the strongest predictors of where people choose to settle. If location no longer mattered because you could instantly be anywhere, some experts speculate that housing markets, city centers, and even the concept of a commute could become almost meaningless, while other factors, climate, community, culture, might suddenly matter far more than they ever did before. Here's the twist most people don't expect. A world of instant travel would not necessarily be a more connected world in the way most people assume. Sociologists who study community formation have found that shared physical proximity, running into the same neighbors repeatedly, gradually building familiarity over time, plays a significant role in how communities form and strengthen in the first place. If everyone could instantly be anywhere, the accidental repeated encounters that build local community over time might simply stop happening. You could technically be anywhere, yet somehow belong nowhere in particular. Let's slow down and look at the mechanics of this a little closer, because not every kind of travel would be affected the same way. Consider business travel specifically. Right now, a business trip involves flights, hotels, and time away from home, all of which cost money and cost time, but that cost also functions as a kind of natural filter. Companies only send people on trips that are judged worth the expense and disruption. Remove that cost almost entirely, and suddenly there's no natural filter left. Organizational researchers who study meeting culture have found that unnecessary meetings already tend to multiply when the perceived cost of attending them is low. Instant teleportation could apply that same effect to business travel itself, potentially leading to constant low-value trips simply because nothing meaningful stops them from happening. Now think about something surprisingly personal: grief and distance. Right now, when someone we love is dying far away, the physical journey to reach them, however difficult, often becomes part of how we process what's happening. The hours on a plane give the mind time to prepare emotionally for what's coming. Grief researchers who study anticipatory loss have found that this preparation time can meaningfully affect how people cope with a loss once it happens. With instant teleportation, you could go from a completely ordinary moment to standing at someone's bedside in less than a second, with absolutely no transition time to brace yourself emotionally for what you're about to face. The convenience of arriving instantly might come at the cost of the very preparation time that currently helps people cope. Now consider something more surprising: the emergency response system for the entire world. Search and rescue operations, humanitarian aid delivery, and emergency medical response are currently limited significantly by how quickly people and resources can physically reach a location. Disaster response researchers have found that response time is one of the single biggest factors determining survival rates in the first hours after a major disaster. If instant teleportation existed, the ability to rush critical resources anywhere on Earth in a heartbeat could save an extraordinary number of lives that are currently lost simply due to the time it takes rescuers and supplies to physically arrive. Now widen the lens one more time, back to something deeply personal: your sense of home itself. Right now, home is partly defined by return, the specific feeling of coming back somewhere after being away. Environmental psychologists who study place attachment have found that the contrast between being away and returning is part of what makes a place feel like home in the first place, reinforcing your sense of belonging there. If leaving and returning both happened in an instant, with no journey home to mark the transition, that contrast might begin to fade. You might technically still have a home, a specific address, a specific bed, but the emotional weight of coming home after being away could lose some of the power it currently holds, simply because the actual experience of return, the descent, the familiar road, the front door, would no longer exist as a distinct experience separate from everywhere else. So, what if you could teleport anywhere instantly? You would not simply gain unlimited freedom of movement. You would lose the psychological transition time your brain relies on, the meaningful friction that makes effort feel like care, and the accidental, repeated proximity that quietly builds community over time. The world would not necessarily become more connected. It might just become a world where everyone was everywhere, and yet, in the ways that actually matter, nowhere in particular at all. Maybe travel was never really about the destination arriving faster. Maybe it was always about the space in between, the part your mind needs to actually catch up with where your body is going.